If you're just hopping on, my name is Shaylin Macedonio. I am the Summer Learning Project Manager at the Texas Education Agency. Today we will be going over the Summer Learning Framework webinar series, the fourth element of the framework, climate and culture. So we will give people about 30 more seconds or so to join. I see those participant numbers ticking up. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. As I said, we are, TEA has put together a resource called the Summer Learning Framework. We want to let you guys in on how incredible that resource is. And today we'll be talking about the fourth element of it, climate and culture. We are so excited y'all are here today. This webinar is brought to you by TEA, the Wallace Foundation, which has heavily invested in summer learning supports for the state of Texas, specifically the RAND Corporation, which is where a lot of the evidence-based research the summer learning framework is based around, from, and the Learning Agenda. So today we will be talking about the Summer Learning Framework. We will navigate there online in a little bit at texashomelearning.org/summer. The Summer Learning Framework, you know, I'm sure you guys want to know what exactly is that. Well, we're glad you asked. The Summer Learning Framework is a free suite of resources to help districts with design, planning, and implementing onboarding supports for a high quality summer learning program. So this is just the summer learning program is summer learning framework, is online at texashomelearning.org. It's not something you have to apply to. There is no fee. It is simply a free suite of resources to help districts across Texas plan for a great summer learning program, either for summer 21 or for those of you already thinking about summer 22. And really, we bucketed the framework into three categories. The first one is a statewide webinar series, which you guys are participating in today. And there are 9 webinars specifically that dive into the 9 elements of the framework. Second, we have a bucket for planning resources, tools, and templates. Every single webinar will zero in on a planning tool associated with the topic that it's focusing in on. And there is actually a master planning tool that we will look at in a second, but so there's the master tool, and then there's these individual tools for all the topics. And then lastly, we want to make sure you guys know about the third element, which is the Texas Home Learning Summer Units. These are summer specific, high quality instructional material units to help districts, campuses, make sure that they have a curriculum that's summer specific and meets TEKS level criteria for this summer. Today you're joining us obviously for the Climate and Culture webinar. This is the 4th webinar in the series. You can see the full schedule on the screen here. You might notice there's more than 9 webinars on the screen. That's because we actually have specific webinars on the THL summer units bucketed in this academics and enrichment section. So if you guys are implementing one of those units at your campus, be sure to check out one of those webinars. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, the Summer Learning Framework has a summer learning work plan master tool. And this tool provides a research-based work plan for districts that are planning to implement summer either on a 3-month timeline or a 12-month timeline. So we're actually going to navigate there right now. If you go to texashomelearning.org, this is where information on the Summer Learning Framework is housed. You're going to scroll over to Summer Supports, and first stop, we're going to scroll to the Summer Learning Framework. There's lots of amazing resources on this page. There's a description of what the Summer Learning Framework is. First, we're going to take a look at the webinar series, and you can see places where you can register for webinars that you maybe want to check out that you missed, there's recordings of the webinars and slides available here as well. But if you're a district and you're saying, I really want a tool to figure out how to create a high quality summer learning program, start here, start at the Summer Learning Work Plan tool. This is the master tool for the Summer Learning Work Frame. If you scroll down, you can see that the 9 elements of the Summer Learning Work Frame is addressed here. And you can keep scrolling and find, let's say you're implementing a Summer 21 program, you're going to click on the 3-month expedited planning phase tab, and you can click in here and use this to help plan. Or maybe you're planning for Summer 22, you can click into the 12-month planning phase. So once you have that, if you want more specific tools, let's say you really are interested in specifically planning for, climate and culture, you can scroll down to the climate and culture section where you will see the resource specific for climate and culture and some district examples, which we will talk about today. All right, so back to the presentation. If you have any questions about the work plan tool or the topic specific tools, we'll be going over those today. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Katie Wilsey at the Learning Agenda, who will also be introducing us to the Associate Superintendent of Grand Prairie, which is such a privilege to have Pat Lewis with us as well. Katie, over to you.
Thank you, Shaylin. Shaylin, can you confirm you're seeing my screen?
Yes, we see your desktop.
Okay. Oh, but you can't see me. Oh, you can't see the slides?
Yep, we're seeing your sand dune, but I can pull up my slides if it's helpful.
Let's try that one more time.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hillary. Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. I'm Katie Wilsey with the Learning Agenda. And let me just get us all set up. And I realize you can't see me too. So here I am. Okay, great. I'm part of the technical assistance team with the Learning Agenda that has worked with the Wallace Foundation and RAND on the National Summer Learning Project. If you've attended sessions throughout the week, you've met my colleague, Hillary Orebeck, and she's joining us again today as well. We are really excited to be working with TEA around this new summer learning framework and have enjoyed connecting with many of you during the series this week. So I'm excited to be here to lead today's session focused on climate and culture. And I'm so happy to be joined by Pat Lewis with Grand Prairie ISD, who's going to talk a bit about their district's plans for the summer program and pull back the veil and give us a sneak peek on some of their really exciting climate and culture plans. So during our session today, we're going to explore the different elements. We'll start by talking about these different elements that make up a strong and engaging program, climate, and culture. As we go through that, I'll share some different examples from nationally recognized summer learning programs, and then we'll have a chance to learn how Grand Prairie is approaching this, how they're looking at building culture into their program, and the steps that they're taking to prepare staff to really ensure that their culture is thriving throughout the summer. And there'll also be opportunities throughout the session for you to reflect and share, ask questions, so that you feel ready to incorporate some of these best practices into the design of your own program. So we want to get started with hearing from you. Using the chat box, we'd love for you to share a little bit about what you think are some of the elements of a positive summer program, climate and culture. This may be things you've already been doing in your district. They might be experiences you had as a child in a program that you attended. So use the chat and share what you think some of those elements might be. And also, how do you think that a climate and culture is built, and who's really responsible for building that? So Hillary's going to help us keep track of some things coming in the chat. Hillary, when you're ready.
So just type them into the chat and we'll see who are our fast typers.
sort of a pop quiz to start our Thursday.
Okay, Danny is saying inclusive and encouraging. Veronica agrees, warm and welcoming. Okay, they're starting to roll in. So Nicole said opportunities outside of the traditional classroom, and Alice pointed out the importance of teamwork.
That's great. I love that. So many good words that I think you'll start to hear as we move through this. And warm and welcoming is definitely a phrase you'll see in Rand's report, getting to work on summer learning. So glad to hear that as one of our examples. Anything else, Hillary?
Yeah, there's a couple more that I really like, kind of building on some things that we talked about. So Araceli is talking about relaxed but focused. And similarly, Akira is saying organized, that's really critical for a positive culture. Couldn't agree with you more. Maria, student engagement and project-based activities. And so we go on from there.
Fantastic. Well, so you all are really well positioned for the conversation today, having some great ideas already to bring to the table. So thank you for that. So here are some of the things that RAND focuses their recommendations on in getting to work on summer learning related to climate and culture, and things that we're going to unpack in our time together today. So they really focus on positive engagement between staff and youth, and looking at how this occurs at all times throughout the program day, not just in sort of formal activities or classes. They talk about having a really clear and positive message about your culture that is shared and reinforced with students every day. And then they also emphasize thinking about how you can use observations as a way to ensure that staff are really supporting that culture, and to help site leaders identify, where there might be some additional support and coaching around culture implementation that staff might need, so you can make some real-time adjustments during the program. So we heard a lot of really good examples. What we're going to do now is kind of summarize what are some of the core elements for creating a unique program culture. We're going to get started with talking about norms and values. So these can really help shape a program culture by communicating a set of shared values that are both identified and agreed to by students and staff. RAND found that sites with the strongest site culture had a common language that staff and students both understood, that communicated kind of their goals and their culture for the program. I've had the chance in my summer learning career to visit a lot of summer learning programs. It's one of my most favorite things I've been able to do. And I've seen a variety of ways that programs integrate norms and values into their programs. So, one way is just to have them posted around the site so that everybody sees them as a visual reminder. I've seen a lot of programs that integrate their values into program mottos or cheers that they might use during celebration events. And I've also seen some really creative ways that programs have created systems for acknowledging students for embodying their different culture principles. So an example of a program I saw in New York from the Fiverr Children's Foundation, their summer program, they create kind of really cool dog tags that there's one that represents each of their program values. And over the course of the summer, staff nominate students for the values that they've demonstrated. And then there's a ceremony during the last week where students are awarded their dog tag. I had a chance to attend one of those ceremonies, and I saw that students collect their dog tags and grow their collection summer after summer. So the older students had like their chain with their 6 or 7 from all the previous years. And students get really motivated around it, and they set goals about the value that they want to work on at the beginning of the summer, and really work with staff on how to make that a part of what they're doing. And so it's really become an integral part of their program experience. So I loved seeing that example in action. Another element is around using daily rituals to help create that warm and welcoming environment, those words we heard earlier in the chat. And also traditions that can kind of create that sense of belonging, that students know I belong to this program and it's different than any other program in my community. So this photo that I put here is from Pittsburgh Public Schools, their Summer Dreamers Academy. They have a tradition that any student who has perfect attendance during the summer can throw a pie in a teacher's face that they choose during the end of summer event. And we've heard that it's a really big motivator for students to attend every day and something that they look forward to. So kudos to the teachers for being willing to do that to encourage good attendance. Another element of creating unique program culture is to rebrand the space so it feels really different than the school year. That's something else that we heard in the chat. Classrooms can be decorated related to a program theme, and you can have student artwork develop the space over the course of the summer. It's a great way to celebrate student work. I had a chance to visit a program in Baltimore, and a student was showing me around, and while they did, they kind of got turned around and a little lost. And I asked if this was the school that they attended during the year, because I knew that they had a couple schools that they drew from. And he said, yes, but it looks so different. I don't know where I am. And I just love that. It was such a great indicator that they had really transformed the physical space that he couldn't remember which hallway he was walking down. And then another example and a core element of program culture is culminating events. These are a fantastic opportunity for families to join with their students and share and celebrate in their work, and also get to experience program culture live. I've seen programs that engage families in program cheers and chants. They've had parents compete for spirit sticks. It's also just a great opportunity for staff to be able to share positive feedback with families about their students. Again, about building those really positive interactions and relationships between staff and students. So these are just a few, but some of the very important elements and things you can integrate to create that warm and welcoming environment and that really positive climate. Another important piece that you'll see in Rand's report is having a behavior management system that aligns with the program's vision for a positive site climate. They emphasize that this really helps students and staff have a clear understanding of what's expected of them every day. And so the images up here are of the behavior management rubric for the Summer Scholars Program at Rochester City School District, which was one of the programs involved in the National Summer Learning Project. And their handbook is one of the resources that you'll find on that climate and culture part of the Summer Learning Framework website. And so in their handbook, they describe the behavior management plan, and then these rubrics are used to positively frame, what the expectations are for student behavior and engagement across all points of the day. This is just two examples, but there are others that talk about like arriving on the bus, in meals, walking down the hall. And again, they're all aligned with these values of cooperation, being responsible, being respectful. And so it's a very positively framed approach to talking about behavior. So there's great evidence on climate and culture as well. So Rand, really refers to site climate as kind of the quality and character of the program, the relationships, and the teaching and learning practices that shape the youth and staff experiences throughout the summer. And one way to think about climate is that it's that foundation that really enables that positive program culture to thrive. One of the things that Rand also talks about is having a program that runs smoothly is key to having a positive experience where everybody knows where they're supposed to be and things run according to plan, enables the space for staff to interact with students in a really positive way and to get to do all those fun traditions that students really look forward to. And then Rand, really emphasizes that climate is more than just fun. That's a key driver for attendance. We know that students only benefit if they attend regularly. We've talked about in earlier sessions that Rand found 80% attendance in the National Summer Learning Project schools was that critical threshold for students to experience academic benefits. And in their study, they found that sites with a positive climate also had higher attendance rates. So it's part of the fun that keeps students wanting to come back. So taking a look at another program example, I mentioned Pittsburgh Public School Summer Dreamers Academy and their pie in the face competition or attendance incentive. So Pittsburgh Public Schools participated in the National Summer Learning Association's Excellence in Summer Learning Award. This is an award that the association has managed for about 20 years. and it recognizes high quality summer learning programs. And for about the first decade of the award, the winners of that award were exclusively programs run by community-based organizations. And then Pittsburgh Public Schools entered the race. They were a program that started in 2009 with stimulus funding, and very quickly grew to build an outstanding culture as well as really strong academic and enrichment programming. And so they were one of the first districts in the country to win the Excellence Award for their Summer Dreamers Academy. And this picture helps show what students experience every morning when they arrive. They're greeted by cheering staff. They have kind of a tunnel that they pass through where they receive high fives as they exit the bus and enter the building. And then they move into their all camp meeting, where they're participating in their rituals and traditions like cheers and those attendance awards and incentives. And they have a spirit stick competition as well. And so I just love this picture because it shows you like every day the student starts with this, like enthusiastic, smiling, excited, supportive staff. One of the other defining features of the Summer Dreamers Academy is their program Chant. So students learn this chant during their first summer, and they perform it during their all camp meeting and culminating events. I've heard it many times. It really centers around the vision that summer dreamers are going to graduate high school and that they're going to go on to pursue secondary education. You can see in the words here, it references the Pittsburgh Promise, which is a scholarship fund for Pittsburgh public school students who graduate with at least a 2.5 GPA, an attendance record of 90% or above. And so the chant not only embodies the program's culture, but it really communicates a shared value around excellence in education. And I just love it too, that they say, you know, we've got the knowledge, we'll have lots of fun. You know, we're going to go to college, we're going to show you how it's done. And so they're inviting you to come in and see how this program is preparing them to be successful. If I was brave, I would do the chat or the chant for you, but you know, there's great videos online of it. So the last thing I just want to really lift up is that, you know, Rand found that positive site climates don't develop on their own or rarely develop on their own, but they require intentional effort to build and maintain. They won't just happen. They have to be intentional. And that it's built on the commitment and engagement of all staff, students, and family. So it's not just one person in the office thinking about culture, but it's really ingrained and supported by your entire program community. And so with that in mind, we'd love to take a moment to hear more from you. There might be some new ideas that have come through, Hillary, or questions. We can take a moment to address those. But we'd love to hear from you about how you plan to engage your staff, students, and family in building your program's culture. What are some ideas for what that might look like in your program? So take a minute to share in the chat. Hillary will help call out some of the things that we're seeing, and then we'll have a chance to move into our conversation with Grand Prairie.
Great. No questions so far, but Catherine was looking forward to that chant. She said she'll look online since
I don't know if you would do it, Hillary, but
I know I can't, but I will say that their staff and their PD, they like get on top of desks and do it and model it. And it's just amazing. I went back for their 10-year anniversary celebration. And I actually was an evaluator of their program in the first year in 2009. I've been there many summers. And it's just amazing, their staff. In the first summer, their staff weren't totally aware of and bought in into the summer culture. And this gets to a lot of what we're talking about. By the time I went back 10 years later and much earlier in between, I mean, their staff are just incredible, absolutely incredible, the energy that they bring to us every day. So definitely shows that all the work has paid off.
That's great.
So we're looking for some ideas that you all are thinking about how you might work to create a fun summer culture in your program.
We could take another minute to see if ideas come in, and then there'll be the opportunity to share and lift up more after our conversation with Pat.
So Celeste is saying that they're thinking about ways to change their culture, make it more camp-like. I have good news for you that Pat is going to share some amazing ways that Grand Prairie has done that. And they're really just shifting their model toward acceleration instead of remediation.
Great. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and and move into hearing about one of your own. So, we've talked about what the research says about climate and culture. We've looked at some examples from programs around the country. And now it's time to hear what Grand Prairie is thinking about. So I'm really excited that Pat Lewis is joining us today. She's the Associate Superintendent of Schools for Grand Prairie ISD. She's going to talk a little bit about their culture, vision, and plans for the program. Prior to the Summer Learning Framework, TLA has been working with districts through the Additional Days School Year Planning and Execution Program, which Grand Prairie is involved in. So we'll be able to hear a little bit about some of the planning they've done through that initiative. And so, Pat, I'd love for you to start off with just telling us a little bit about the program you all have planned.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. We are very proud and happy of what we're planning to do this summer, and I'm excited about sharing our plans. As you can see, the first slide, we have put together our GPISD My Justice League Summer Camp, and we will be implementing this camp on 5 of our elementary campuses for grades K through 5th grade. As you can see on the slide, we created the My Camp theme because we wanted each campus to kind of have their own vision of their camp. And so you see the different colors, and you see how each campus will be able to use this theme and these colors for t-shirts as well for the students. And so we're excited. The My Camp theme has taken on, and we are very excited about it. In the planning of My Camp, we decided that we wanted it to be something fun, but we also wanted it to be something where the kids could value and the parents. And we know that our students and teachers in the past year, it's been tough. And so we wanted to make sure that our summer camp bring back the fun and the creativity of teaching and learning. And so on our next slide, we put together, working with our curriculum team, what it would look like. Our kids will have reading, math, and enrichment. And so we wanted to make sure that it all aligned. So we have our teaching and learning team. We also have an enrichment team, which is made up of fine arts, STEM, and instructional technology. So if you look at the slide, the purpose of our reading portion of our camp, we have 3 goals. And our 3 goals is really to retain, build, and learn the essential skills for students to grow in literacy. We also wanted them to strengthen their critical thinking in reading. And we just wanted to provide opportunities for our students to apply key reading skills in a safe and engaging environment. For our math, we have a portion of our summer camp, which will be more in the next slide. In our math, we want to build numeracy relationships. And we also want to work with that critical thinking with the math and the math problem solving. I want to make sure we've decided with our principals that we will have, the time is 7:45 to 2:45. The first half of the day will be academics, where you will see the reading and the math. But then in the afternoon, we transition into the enrichment camp. But the great thing about this, we're not planning in isolation. All the reading, math, and enrichment team are planning together so the kids can see connections from the academic side over into the fun enrichment side, as the kids would say. So in the next slide, you will see our enrichment summer camp, which we are so excited about, where we see our social and emotional learning themes. These themes will be carried over into academic, as well as our, hold on, our lights are going off in the room that I'm in. So, okay, sorry about that. So our theme is a Justice League theme. And so you see the belonging, curiosity, friendship, kindness. This is what I heard earlier about the norms and values. These will be the norms and values that we will use in our summer camp. The great thing about our summer camp, the kids will be grouped in like bunks, and they can earn badges. And the badges that they can earn will be based on these SEL themes. And so in the next slide, we show that the strands in our enrichment camp will focus on we have 5 strands. We're going 5 weeks. So each week the campuses will have a different strand. But here's the fun thing about it. At the beginning of this camp, the kids are going to create their own super hero who, they're going to create it from scratch. And throughout the whole summer camp, all of these strands are going to build on their superhero. And then at the end of the camp, we have a showcase where the kids will be able to showcase their superhero in all of these different areas, such as in digital arts and audio visual, coding. And so they will show off their superhero through these strands. And the key components of every lesson in our enrichment camp, you will see it will focus on the physical activity, it will be fine arts, all hands-on, and STEM integration, as well as our technology. And we also are going to have times where the kids all have iPads, where they have some time with an iPad and a lot of time without the iPad to support our SEL themes. And so this is the makeup of our program. And so we are well on our way in the planning of this. We're well on our way in the selection of our teachers, and we're really preparing to train our teachers to be able to support this camp. And we have everybody on board. So this is just a brief overview of our camp. Everything is going to be based around the camp theme. The kids going to have tents in the classrooms. They're going to have all the things that you would see if you are actually going camping.
It's great, Pat. I'm wondering if you can sign me up, because I definitely want to attend. I'm so excited about this theme. I can see it coming to life. Can you talk a little bit about how you're going to make this a reality? And we've talked about the importance of preparing staff. Rand in their report refers to them as culture keepers. So yes. How are you going to help ensure that your staff are culture keepers of your program?
I'd like to add too that we started with the work plan that you guys presented earlier in the session. And the work plan was developed through a steering committee. And we had all of the different departments a part of the steering committee. So I can't say without the function of a great team to put this plan together, your steering committee is important to making this work. And so as you can look at our professional development, so right now in April is the process of us recruiting and selecting great teachers to be able to implement this camp. In the month of May, we see that the teachers will get 8 to 10 hours of PD. The great things about the PD in May, the teachers are actually going to almost create the lessons, create the projects, and all the things that we're going to ask the kids to do, they're going to be doing those in May. And so that way we can develop them, the teachers can experience the same thing that they're going to ask their students to do. And then in June, our teachers and staff will be able to have 2 full days of training. Some will be virtual, some will be in person, but it's also to get ready for the kids.
That's great.
And we're going to call our teachers camp counselors. We're going to call them camp counselors. We're going to give them all the tools that they need in order to be effective counselors. One of the things in our steering committee that we decided was our teachers, we want to be able to give them everything they need to be effective in this camp. Give it to them. We want the teachers to have fun teaching. We want the teachers to enjoy reinforcing those literacy skills, those math skills. And we want the kids to see the connection between what they're doing in math and how it can connect to what they're doing in their enrichment camp.
That's great. We'll take a minute before the end of our session and kind of summarize some of the things that we heard you say about how you'll use your professional development to help build this culture with your staff. And before we do that though, I think Hillary is going to help us take a look at some of the resources from Grand Prairie that we have available on the Texas Home Learning /summer site. So Hillary, I'm going to turn over to you.
Great. Pat, just want to mention that you're getting lots of love in the chat for everything that you shared and just the visual appeal of your slides. And I think also what we want people to get out of this is that marketing is really important, but it also is critical that it matches the experience of students and the adults working in the program as well. And so on the Summer Learning Framework site, because Grand Prairie are complete overachievers, there's tons of resources from them. And so if you're with us on Tuesday, for student recruitment, we looked at Pat's early message map and original branding around a summer learning academy. And then we saw how that evolved to their student flyer around My Camp. And so those examples are there. Yesterday, we saw eCentral's job description, but there's also a great teacher recruitment flyer. And so I think it's really helpful to see how they're positioning this camp experiences to the teachers that they're recruiting. So very similar to the students, all of this is consistent. My Camp, one team, one dream, and then very boldly, GPISD wants you. And so they're positioning this as 25 days of life-changing fun and learning this summer. And they're asking, are you passionate? Are you energetic, et cetera? And so getting people really excited and kind of very aware of what their vision for the camp is. With that, I also want to take you into something that is a very unique product that I think really does help people get a sense of what they want this to look like. And this is their teacher recruitment video.
Grand Prairie ISD needs you. Launching for the first time this summer, My Camp is coming to GPISD. It's an in-person academic and enrichment camp located at 5 elementary campuses. We need energetic and creative team members to bring the lessons alive. You'll work with elementary-age children this summer in a small group camp setting and be paid a $25 hourly rate to bring your expertise, passion, and enthusiasm to our students. My camp runs for 25 days this summer. Teachers will begin June 1st, the campers begin June 3rd, and camp will end July 14th. The camp meets each day, Monday through Friday, and is set up with a morning session for academics and an afternoon session for enrichment. Academics will focus on RLA and math skills, while the enrichment will bring hands-on fine arts, technology, and STEAM learning experiences. Students will stay all day. Teachers will work only during the morning or afternoon sessions. Please visit our webpage for more information about how to apply.
A big hooray to you and your team, Pat, for putting that together. I love it. There's no way somebody could watch this and not be clear on kind of what you want this environment to be like. I see that there's some questions for you, but I'm curious, what has the reception been like so far to your recruitment efforts?
We started recruiting last Tuesday and we're at over maybe 90 teachers to apply. And we just been open like less than a week. And we even have high school teachers want to get involved. And we are looking at those teachers. We're looking at CTE teachers to maybe become enrichment teachers. So the response is amazing. We are happy and pleased with the response.
That's great. And then, so you have some other questions in the chat box. I mean, people are just generally curious, like, where are you pulling funds to provide support for the teachers this summer?
We normally have a summer program for our 5th and 8th graders who are needing to take the 3rd test, and our district has always budgeted for that population for that summer program. Since we are not having that program this summer, we're using those funds, as well as we're pulling together some title funds, and we're using some Title II funds to help with the support of our professional development for our teachers. And then we're working with our bilingual ESL department because we do have bilingual students in our district. And so we're looking at how they can support us with Title III funds with the bilingual classes. And so we kind of put together a lot of pools of funds, and that's about getting the finance department and the program managers to really outline the purpose of the funds. And there are a lot of funds that you can use in the summer that you may not have used during the school year to support intervention for students and to support professional development for teachers.
Great. And there's a follow-up to that. So the Title II funds that you mentioned, are you using that for summer curriculum development?
No, we're not. We're using it for training for the teachers. Our curriculum department has already developed our curriculum for the summer. Well, and so we're ready to roll that out next month.
Okay, we have some questions about your presentation, but I want to go to Andrew because he put in a plug for the THL units, and I think it's worth talking about now. We're talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Larry, and I think this question about curriculum development is so important. What are our kids being there in summer and what they work on matters, right? And I think Pat, you guys have done an incredible job building that out through Texas Home Learning. We know that there's instructional materials for big variety of subjects and grade levels available. There's also recommended units for the summer for each, for pre-K, RLA K-12, and math K-12. And the RLA K-5 also has a pretty robust Spanish component as well. So those are all available for free for y'all to use as you see fit this summer. If you do want extra support, if you do want printed materials, and then if you are interested in your educators getting $1,000 stipends for implementing the materials, participating in PD, and giving us feedback on the materials, we have a program called the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative, which is we call it CRIMSI. It's a little bit easier. Through the link in the chat, that's an option for y'all if you want kind of a more packaged up approach, so you don't have to spend all the time building out the curriculum on your own. Again, totally optional. Use it as you see fit. If it's interesting to you, go ahead and click into it and reach out with any questions. But wanted to make sure y'all knew about that opportunity. And thanks, Hillary, for the kick.
Yep, it seems like a great option and support if you want to try to get something up and running for this summer that's different from what you've done in the past. So Pat, I assume that you pulled in your amazing team to create this video. A lot of people are curious, like what did they use to create the presentation? Are you aware, and if not, we can just share it in the follow-up.
Our communication department, I worked with them to create it. Our webmaster did the visuals and I just gave them the content. And so I can find out from our communication team what they used to create those flyers and the video.
Great, thank you. And I know that your slides look fantastic. I know that some of the other districts that we've been working with over the last year have some beautiful slides that I think that they just pulled. There's definitely like a superhero one that are just from some free templates that you can get online, and we can share those in case they're helpful to people that don't have access to a great communications team like Pat does. Okay, so I don't know that there's any other questions right now for Pat. Did I miss anything, Katie, that you're seeing? Shaylin, are you seeing anything else?
There's one question in the Q&A around if it's too late this year to access ADSI funds, additional days school year funds. So Pat mentioned this is through the ADSI program. It's not too late to access these funds. There's a number of requirements, including a 180-day base calendar. I do want to, there's other details as well that are important there, but we are having a budgeting and financial planning session on Tuesday at 10 a.m. So strongly encourage you to attend that session, and we'll talk more about that and other budgeting components around summer learning.
Thanks, Brian.
And just adding on to Brian's plug, you can register to attend that session at texasHomeLearning.org/summer. It's one of the webinars outlined in the webinar series.
Great. So I want to start to transition back to Katie, but as we go back into the slides, Pat, I'm curious, we started to talk about your PD. Can you share with everybody what that is going to look and feel like for people who are joining that PD session for Grand Prairie? Because I'm really excited about what you have in store.
Well, once the teachers are selected, the great thing, they're going to get a postcard in the mail with a pack of confetti. And it's like, you have been accepted. And since we're still doing a lot of social distancing, we decided that we'll ask them to throw the confetti, and we have #HappyDance, and they are to take pictures and post that. And we also have opportunities for in the training. I said earlier that when they attend their May training, they get an opportunity to get everything they need given to them. And we even have put together we put together a t-shirts. We have t-shirts for all of our staff. We have for each day of the week, and here's the thing that I'm excited about. Because we have our fine arts department a part of this planning, the drum line, the cheerleaders, the drill team will be there to welcome all of our students, as well as our parents. And I wanted to add this into our parents. It will be a My Camp for parents. And so we want to involve our parents into this climate. Our teachers will have opportunities to take everything that we want our students to experience, we want our staff to experience. We want it to become contagious, from the staff to the students, to the parents, to the community. To be honest with you, we have other principals in our district. They're kind of like, why can't we do My Camp? So we're just real excited about the messaging that's coming out, and we're excited about just this whole culture that the district is setting, and to bring back that creativity to teaching and learning.
It's great. And we couldn't think of a better example of how people are actually making this happen. And I just want to say that you're getting some love in the chat again from Stephanie saying, I just love that, celebrate those teachers. And I couldn't agree more. I think after the last year, like that just has to feel amazing to people to kind of get that confetti and feel that energy of a drum line kind of going in to get ready for this experience. So kudos to you and your team, and thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. And lastly, they'll get swag bags. And so the swag bags will cover a lot of the things that teachers like to get. So we are getting swag bags for staff. We're getting swag bags for kids. And the talk is to do swag bag for parents. And so we're very excited.
Love it. Kudos, Pat. Thank you so much for joining and sharing all these great and exciting ideas and your plans. We're wishing you the best for the summer. Can't wait to hear how it goes and see more artifacts coming out of this summer. And thank you, Hillary, for helping share some of those resources. So really quickly before we wrap up, just want to draw attention to some of the great things we heard from Pat around how their PD will be used to help support and reinforce your culture. So Pat shared, there's going to be opportunities for their campus leaders to take time to build their site climate during the training. So that is, key point number one, really emphasizing the goals of the program and why staff are such a critical role in helping students achieve those goals. Inspiring staff, which we know is going to start from like the moment they get their envelope of confetti and carry all the way through the PD. And providing those opportunities for staff to really get to know each other and build relationships. And this can be a way to role model some relationship building activities that teachers and staff could then do with students once they're together on campus. And then once the program's rolling, you just want to have those touch points and make sure that that culture is really thriving. And so using, observation and follow-up as a way to help, staff understand if there's areas where they can really strengthen their interactions and their relationships and more intentionally support that culture. So again, students keep coming back every day, which we know is key. So just a couple quick hits on those milestones that are coming up, aligning to the work plan that Shaylin shared earlier that's available on Texas Home Learning /summer. This month is really about building out this plan for climate and culture. Next month in May is getting your staff ready to breathe it and live it. And in June, beginning to engage your families through some different culture building activities. The one other thing that I just really quickly want to point to, and I'm going to go back to the Texas Home Learning site, is this promoting participation and positive experience tip sheet. This is a resource that's available in the Wallace Foundation Summer Learning Toolkit. And it just has great tips on maximizing student engagement. If you were participating in the student recruitment session earlier this week, you'll see some of the guidelines around how this begins with your outreach and engagement with students. And there are also tips in here around, how to plan for your program and execute it in a way that is going to be both well organized and welcoming, and the role that site leaders play And then lastly, a set of tips and recommendations around how you can support and meet the needs of families in your program. So another great resource for you there on the home learning site. I'm going to turn it over to Brian to close us out.
Great, thanks, Katie. So similar to Katie's point here, first I want to thank both Katie and Pat for leading this session and the insight that you all have provided. It's exciting to see, in particular, some of these practices in added district and in practice with Grand Prairie. As Katie mentioned, there are a couple components that can essentially translate the RAND research and what you've seen from Grand Prairie into your own practice. The first being the tip sheet that Katie just reviewed. The second is the work planning tool that Shaylin mentioned at the top of the call. Those are both found at texasHomeLearning.org/summer. And then the third, I do want to highlight that we are adding an ever-growing list of district examples and other resources to each of these categories. So do take a look at those. We have examples from today, both in the climate and culture section as well as in other sections that were referenced. I also want to underscore here that we have a lot of folks on this call that are also working on summer programs. If you have examples that you think would be helpful for other folks to see, we would love to see them and take a look at providing that as an example for other districts across the state. So if that's the case, please feel free to email texasHomeLearning@tea.texas.gov. And we would love to take a look both for climate and culture examples as well as any of the other categories that we are talking through with the summer learning framework. Go to the next slide. So want to highlight here, we have a series of webinars next week with academics, enrichment, and operations. The first one is on Monday with Carnegie Learning, where we're doing a deeper dive into the summer units for Texas Home Learning materials. So that will be math, grades 6 through 12. And then all of those sessions underneath Carnegie Learning will be occurring from the 6th through the 9th, specific to each product's summer unit. So encourage you to take a look there if you are looking at Texas Home Learning products for this summer. We also have an enrichment webinar on Wednesday at 11 a.m. And then we're also running 3 operations sessions next week. The first is budgeting on Tuesday on 4/6. That's going to be at 10 a.m. And so we'll go through things like ADSI, we'll go through different funding streams, see some different district examples, as well as walk through a template around budgeting for summer learning. Tuesday, we'll be talking through master scheduling, translating research into a summer master schedule. And then we'll close out the operations piece on Thursday with a summer site operations, talking through all those transportation, facilities, logistics, food services, all those different components, and looking at work plans around that. Switching gears a little bit, Andrew mentioned the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative. This is affectionately known here as CRIMSI. There are 3 opportunities that are currently open for CRIMSI, and this is directly related to the Texas Home Learning products that are available at texasHomeLearning.org. The first opportunity is spring adoption coaching. If you are looking to potentially adopt a Texas Home Learning product next year in 21-22, we have some support that we can help provide you through coaching that would take place this spring. The second is a summer learning pilot. And so this would be for folks who are looking at piloting one of the THL products this summer. We can provide, Katie, could you click once? We can provide some additional supports for those teachers through professional developments, some stipends for those teachers as well, to pilot that product with fidelity and to give us some feedback on that process, as well as printed materials for those. And so I encourage you to take a look at that opportunity as well. Both option 1 and option 2 here, the application is due April 9th, which is the end of next week. It's not a terribly extensive application, but it takes a little bit of work. So I do want to underscore that if you're looking at this, take a look and reach out with any questions. The third opportunity is a 21-22 full year pilot. And this is basically if you're looking at adopting Texas Home Learning for the full year of 21-22, we have some additional supports that we can provide to you throughout that process. That application is due June 11th as capacity is available. So 3 options there, and then those can all be found at texashomelearning.org/CRIMSY. All right, and with that, we are at the close of this session, so would love to spend some time with any remaining questions in the chat. And then in the meantime, we'd also love to hear 1 to 2 takeaways from this session that you will be applying to your summer planning. We'd love to hear things that stuck out for you, things that are making you think. I know I would love to receive a bag of confetti at any point. So Pat, if you have any extras, feel free to send them my way. And then other than that, Katie, I don't know if there's anything coming across the chat from the question standpoint, and then we'll be on the lookout. But thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you for everything that you're doing for Texas students, and looking forward to seeing more folks next week. For questions on CRIMSY applications, you can direct that to texasHomeLearning@tea.texas.gov. I'll throw that in the chat here. Seeing some great takeaways here. Let's see here. We have dog tags are a great idea, and collecting them throughout the years, especially loving the recruitment ideas. Just a big thank you for Pat and her team and the team effort at Grand Prairie. Seeing a question from Dr. Perso, specific to CRIMSY. I think it's probably worth touching base offline. So Dr. Perso, if you want to email texasHomeLearning@tea.texas.gov, that's probably going to be the easiest way to get that sorted out. All right, we're going to close out for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. And we hope to see everyone next week as well.